National Assembly for legislative action. The president said the amendment is in line with his administration's commitment to building stronger educational institutions to improve learning outcomes and support national development. The president appealed to the Senate to accord the proposed legislation accelerated consideration. Following the reading of the president's request, Senator Akpabio referred the bill to the Senate Committee on Rules and Business for legislative processing and directed the committee to list the bill for further legislative action and report back to the Senate within 1 week.
Meanwhile, the Senate has approved a total of 403.1 billion naira for the Nigerian Police Trust Fund to strengthen policing and support the fight against terrorism, kidnapping and other security challenges across the country for 2 consecutive years. The upper chamber approved 170.1 billion naira for the Police Trust Fund's 2025 fiscal year, as well as 233 billion naira for the 2026 fiscal year. The approved 2026 budget covers personal costs, capital projects and overhead expenditures aimed at enhancing the operational capacity of the Nigerian Police Force (NPF). Lawmakers expressed optimism that the funding will improve the provision of critical equipment, infrastructure, training and other resources needed to bolster security operations and address the country's growing security concerns. The move comes amid a rising spread of crime across Nigeria, with citizens calling for authorities to tighten security in the nation.
Senate Majority Leader Opeyemi Bamidele has cautioned that the proposed state police system may become ineffective if adequate funding and financial independence are not guaranteed. Senator Bamidele warned that without a sustainable funding structure, state police could be exposed to undue influence from politicians, wealthy individuals, businesses and criminal elements, thereby weakening its ability to effectively protect Nigerians. The lawmaker gave the warning while speaking on a private TV program in Lagos today, stressing that funding would be a major factor in determining the success or failure of the proposed security arrangement. He explained that the constitutional amendment being considered by the National Assembly was not aimed at forcing every state to immediately establish its own police force, but to provide a legal framework that would allow states to do so. According to him, the proposed amendment seeks to move policing from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent legislative list, giving states the constitutional backing to create their own police services if they choose. Senator Bamidele, who acknowledged concerns over possible misuse of state police, described such fears as legitimate given Nigeria's political history, adding that lawmakers must ensure that adequate safeguards are included in the legal framework to prevent abuse and guarantee accountability.
The Oyo State Police Command says normalcy has been restored to the Stratbag area of Ojo in Ibadan following a mob action and subsequent public disturbance. According to the police, the incident began around 11:30 on Tuesday night when 4 young men reportedly arrived at a point of sale POS outlet in the area to purchase mobile data, and during the transaction, they allegedly attempted to rob the POS operator of his mobile phone. The victim reportedly raised an alarm, prompting residents to apprehend one of the suspects, identified as Abib Olajide, while the 3 others escaped. Police says that the suspect was severely beaten by the mob before officers rescued him and took him to hospital, where he later died while receiving treatment. The command says that the incident triggered tension in the community, leading to unrest as some aggrieved persons mobilized for a reprisal attack. Commissioner of Police Abimbola Olugbenga immediately deployed operational and tactical teams to the area, with reinforcement from the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, and the Western Nigerian Security Network, Amotekun, which restored peace and prevented further escalation of the violence. Meanwhile, 4 suspects have been arrested in connection with the incident and transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department, SCID, Yaganku, for further investigation.
The House of Representatives has called on the federal government to strengthen diplomatic engagement with South Africa following reports of renewed xenophobic attacks and the death of Nigerians in the country. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by the chairman of the House Committee on Navy, Honorable Yusuf Gadi, APC Plateau, during plenary today. Moving the motion, Yusuf expressed concern over reports of attacks, unlawful arrest, destruction of businesses, and the death of Nigerians and other African nationals in South Africa. Following deliberations, the House also called for an independent and transparent investigation into the reported death, with those found culpable to be prosecuted and in accordance with the law. In addition, the lawmakers urged the federal government to intensify diplomatic efforts to secure appropriate support and compensation for affected Nigerians, including the families of those who lost their lives and individuals whose businesses or property were affected. The House resolved to establish an ad hoc committee to engage relevant stakeholders, including the South African Parliament, South African authorities, and regional organizations, and report back within 21 legislative days with recommendations for further legislative and diplomatic action.
The Kebbi state government has said schools closed in communities affected by banditry will remain shut until security improves. The government said the decision, taken about 7 months ago, was based solely on security considerations and would not be reversed until the safety of students and teachers can be guaranteed. This was contained in a statement issued today by the Special Advisor to the Governor on Communication and Strategy, Abdullahi Idris. The government also warned against politicizing security issues. The government maintained that protecting lives remained its foremost responsibility, stressing that schools would only reopen when the security situation permits. According to the statement, Governor Nasir Idris has intensified efforts to tackle insecurity by deploying operational vehicles and motorcycles, strengthening the presence of military personnel and mobile police officers, and providing logistical support to security agencies. The statement added that the governor had also engaged security chiefs, traditional rulers, academics, religious leaders, and other governors in consultations aimed at finding lasting solutions to the crisis.
This broadcast of News Scope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, in Maitama has ordered the remand of former chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT, Danladi Umar, at Kuje Prison in Abuja. Justice Peter Kekemeke issued the order after Umar was arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on a 4-count charge of conferring undue advantage on himself while in office. The EFCC alleged, among other things, that in 2021, Umar used his wife's bank account to collect 5.5 million naira from a contractor engaged to paint the headquarters of the CCT in Abuja. It was also alleged that on January 25, 2024, Umar used his wife's account to receive 6 million naira from a contractor who handled the digitization of the CCT's records. The ex-CCT boss was also accused of directing another contractor to pay 2.43 million naira as the tuition fee for his daughter at Bayes University, Abuja. Umar pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him. Ruling, Justice Kekemeke adjourned the hearing of the bail application to July 15th.
The governorship candidate of the Allied People's Movement, APM, in Oyo State, Honorable Bimbo Adekombi, has continued a statewide familiarization and thank you tour with a visit to party faithful in Oyo Federal Constituency. The event held at Atiba Hall, Akesan, Oyo, brought together party leaders and supporters from the 4 local government areas that make up the constituency. Staff reporter Adebayo Abdurafi reports.
It was a gathering of party leaders, stakeholders, and supporters from Afigio, Atiba, Oyo East, and Oyo West local government areas as the Allied People's Movement (APM) received its governorship candidate, Honorable Bimbo Adekombi, following his emergence as the party's flag bearer through a consensus arrangement. In separate goodwill messages, The Commissioner for Special Duties, Dr. Oluyole, former Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Maruf Atilola, Chairman of the Oyo State Fire Service, Honorable Maruf Akinwande, and member of the Governor's Advisory Council, Chief Sunday Ogunlade, expressed confidence in the party's candidates for the forthcoming elections.
ọ̀rọ̀ ni wọ́n ti bá wọn sọ nígbà lónìí iṣẹ́ dẹ̀ ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ agbára náà gbogbo àwọn candidate pátápátá la máa deliver.
Honorable Adékànbí pẹ̀lú ògùn Ọlọ́run bá a ṣe péjú nílé ní bẹ́ẹ̀ la ṣe péjú níjọ́ tí wọ́n bá búra fún un náà.
Earlier, the Oyo State Chairman of the APM, Otunba Fagbemi Adegbenro, alongside the APM-PDP Alliance Chairman, Chief Dayo Ogungbenro, stressed the importance of unity within the party. Chief Ogungbenro explained that adopting a consensus process rather than conducting party primaries helped preserve cohesion and strengthen the party ahead of the elections. He commended party members in Oyo Federal Constituency for their commitment during previous elections and urged them to intensify efforts to ensure victory for all APM candidates.
Going for election every 4 years is a constitutional imperative of any democracy. So all we are going to do in 2027 is pay and no see election. But they say jàwọn mọ́lẹ̀ ní 2019, tá jàwọn mọ́lẹ̀ ní 2023. Agbára Ọlọ́run bẹ́ẹ̀ náà láti máa jàwọn mọ́lẹ̀. So owó ẹ̀dọ̀wọ́ wa o, ẹ jẹ́ ká tó ìjọba effort wa. Ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ bó ṣe yẹ ká ṣe é. Kó lè rí bó ṣe máa rí. Ọlọ́run á bá wa ṣe o.
Addressing the gathering, the APM governorship candidate, Honorable Bimbo Adekanbi, thanked party faithful for their unwavering loyalty and dedication, describing their tour as a demonstration of appreciation and respect for grassroots members. He assured supporters that the confidence reposed in him and other party candidates will not be betrayed if elected, pledging fairness, inclusiveness, and equal opportunities for all party members.
3.2 ìjọba Adékànbí Abímbọ́lá yìí, it is government of ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ like the ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ for the ọmọ ẹgbẹ́. So ẹgbẹ́ tá a wà yìí ní ìsìn bí mo ṣe tó síwájú yìí mi ní ẹnìkan tó jẹ́ àyò mi nínú ẹgbẹ́ o. Adékànbí ọmọ yìí tí a bá fẹ́ ní local government yìí ní Ọ̀yọ́ East, Ọ̀yọ́ West, Àfijọ́ Àtìbà bẹ́ẹ̀ láàmú ọba yìí fẹ́.
The event was attended by the APM Southwest Chairman, Alhaji Musibao Oluyole, alongside other party leaders from across the Southwest zone. Meanwhile, Honorable Bimbo Adekanbi also met with a cross-section of teachers who presented their concerns and expectations regarding education and workers' welfare. Responding, the governorship candidate pledged to build on the achievements of Governor Seyi Makinde's administration in the education sector and other areas of governance if elected governor of Oyo State. Adebayo Abdurrafi, BCOS News.
As general elections draw near, political stakeholders have started engaging on a series of consultations and meetings to ensure that parties win. The deputy governorship candidate of Allied People's Movement, APM, in the state, Engineer Muftar Opunsalau, on Wednesday engaged the party stakeholders across the 5 local government areas in Ogbomoso zone at his Okeanu residence. BCOS correspondent in Ogbomoso, Aderemi Akomu, was at the venue of the meeting. His report is presented by staff reporter Bimbo Akombi.
Engineer Muftar Opunsalau met with APM stakeholders from Ogbomoso North, Ogbomoso South, Ogoluwa and Orire, as well as Surulere local government areas. The meeting, which is the first of its kind after his nomination as APM running mate, was not to present himself alone, but to settle grievances among leaders of the party. The meeting brought together leaders of the APM and the PDP-APM alliance to work together towards the victory of all party candidates. Addressing his guests, Engineer Opunsalau expressed delight over full attendance of all invited stakeholders drawn from all the 5 local government areas in the zone, calling them to shelve grievances among themselves and be focused for the success of in the forthcoming elections. Engineer Open Salau said the meeting will be on a regular basis to ensure the party waxes stronger.
This is one of such meetings that you will be seeing. And very soon, within the next 1 week, another one will come up. This meeting comprises all the 5 local government of the North Zone, and all the political leaders and elders are here. Those that are not presently here send their apology, and I can tell you that we have one voice to forge ahead.
Stakeholders and representatives from each of the local government areas, including Dr. Adekunle Onile, Isaac Olajide, Lanre Oladeji, Banji Folarami, and Ezekiel Oyedepo, lauded the initiative of the APM running mate about the stakeholders meeting, assuring him of their commitment to make the party's dream come to reality. Similarly, Engineer Muftau Opunsalau led leaders of the APM on a courtesy visit to the Unkpetu of Ijeruland, Oba Sunday Oladapo Lagbami Oshekun III in his palace. Engineer Opunsalau disclosed that the visit was to officially notify the monarch of his nomination as APM running mate to its governorship candidate, Mr. Bimbo Adekombi, and to seek for royal blessing and support to ensure victory of APM governorship elections and other elections. While congratulating Engineer Opunsalau, the monarch maintained that the Governor Makinde-led administration has touched lives of individuals in the state through various people-oriented projects, and this will make Honorable Bimbo Adekombi and his deputy to excel in the forthcoming polls. The Unkpetu explained that the task ahead of Honorable Adekombi and Engineer Opunsalau is to consolidate on the performances of Governor Seyi Makinde since the inception of his administration. The reception was attended by Unkpetu traditional chiefs and bailes.
Australia and India have signed a landmark agreement to expand their cooperation in the nuclear energy sector, with Canberra approving a long-term uranium export in New Delhi for peaceful purposes. The deal, reached during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Australia, also strengthens bilateral ties in defense, critical minerals, and space technology cooperation. Foreign News Editor Folashade Akintola compiles the story and others, as presented by Khadija Lawal.
A joint statement said the arrangements allowed long-term uranium exports for exclusively peaceful purposes. India has long eyed Australia's uranium reserves, which make up around 28% of the world's supply, to help meet a target of 100 gigawatts of nuclear energy capacity by 2047, while Australia is looking to diversify trade beyond its reliance on China, its top partner. The exports would fall under safeguards established by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the global nuclear watchdog. India and Australia entered a nuclear cooperation agreement in 2014. However, Australia has exported limited supplies of uranium over concerns that the material could be used to make weapons. Modi and Albanese also agreed to strengthen defense cooperation and bolster supply chains for critical minerals. The two nations also plan to build a temporary space tracking terminal on Australia's Cocos Keeling Islands in the Indian Ocean, which will support India's space flight project, according to a joint statement. Albanese praised Modi's leadership for helping foster stronger ties between the two nations. Meanwhile, the United States and Iran have traded attacks for a second day, straining their fragile ceasefire further after US President Donald Trump said the truce was over. The US military said late on Wednesday that the attacks were aimed at Iran's ability to threaten the freedom of navigation in the Straits of Hormuz. The US struck approximately 90 military targets, including missile and drone storage, as well as logistic sites along Iran's coastline, said the Central Command, CENTCOM, which oversees US military operations in the Middle East. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump called the US attacks retribution for yesterday's bombing of ships by Iran. If it happens again, it will get much worse. The latest attacks come a day after the US said it hit more than 80 targets in Iran in response to Iranian attacks on commercial vessels in the Straits of Hormuz. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, said on Thursday it carried out attacks on key infrastructure and facilities at bases used by the U.S. military in Arifjan and Ali al-Salem in Kuwait and Jufair in Sheikh Issa and Bahrain in response to the latest U.S. bombardments. Khadija Lawal, BCOS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The Senate has approved a total of 403.1 billion naira for the Nigerian Police Trust Fund to strengthen policing and support the fight against terrorism, kidnapping and other security challenges across the country for 2 consecutive years.
The Oyo State Police Command says normalcy has been restored to the Strabag area of Ojo in Ibadan following a mob action and subsequent public disturbance.
A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) in Maitama has ordered the remand of former chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal (CCT) Danladi Umar at Kuje Prison in Abuja.
Australia and India have signed a landmark agreement to expand cooperation in the nuclear energy sector, with Canberra approving long-term uranium exports to New Delhi for peaceful purposes.
Now, before we go, dumping of waste in waterways aid flooding, avoid unwarranted disasters. That's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Oluseun Adedeji and delivered by
Boluwaji Ogumola. Good evening.
And Tabitha Komolafe. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Uber version at 8 p.m. Good evening.
The news